as you are jumping on, if there's a little red box up here that says live, do say hello, make yourself known. If you watch this later, do comment #replay. It'd be lovely to catch up with you all. So this morning I just wanted to do a bit of a brief share about a dream that I had last night, and how I revisited it again this morning in a process of active imagination. So I wanted to talk a little bit about imagination and anxiety, and how using creative and imaginative practices can be helpful with relieving and releasing anxiety. So for those of you who don't know me personally, I'm in the middle of a big upheaval. I'm moving house shortly, and I've got myself in a little bit of a pickle in the house I thought I was moving to. I now can't, and I'm in a forward moving chain where I have to be out of here in 2 weeks and I've got nowhere to go. So it's been a bit like lots and lots of moving parts and things to think about and things to juggle, and it takes up a lot of my daylight thinking. And of course, like, naturally I have been a bit anxious about this, and you know, anxiety is it's a survival response. Like, it's designed to protect us and keep us safe. Like, it is on its own in small doses. Well, not anxiety, I guess, because anxiety is like the chronic thing, but that survival response isn't in and of itself a negative phenomena. But then when those responses turn into kind of chronic anxiety, it's an over imagination. It's projecting a worst case scenario onto an imagined future that hasn't yet happened. But the power of that over imagination and that anxious imagination has very real physiological effects in the moment. So if anybody, I'm sure some people, we've all experienced some level of anxiety at one moment or another, and you know, familiar with that kind of heart racing, losing focus. It's a survival response. You know, blood moves away from your digestive system into your organs and prepares you for that fight, flight or freeze. But the danger is all imagined, but the physiological response is very real, and then manifests in the body. You know, you have elevated cortisol, and your heart rate increases, your blood pressure goes up or down, depends on who you are and the situation. But yeah, it's all of that projecting the worst case scenarios onto an imagined future. And then because we are logical animals and we like to make meaning out of things, we then act and actualize and externalize these physiological responses, and like all of that energy has to go somewhere. So we overthink, we overplan, we overdo, or we try to soothe and comfort ourselves in a very like top-down, outside-in kind of way. So like we overeat, or we over-medicate, or you know, we look for the things that are within our control that will bring some immediate relief, and those are the things that we reach for. So sorry if I'm looking down because I've written some notes because I had like 4 hours sleep. So yeah, those are some of the like the physiological symptoms of anxiety that, you know, can become quite chronic, and you know, can lead to like postural habits and muscular tension and ways of holding yourself and ways of moving and being in the world that don't serve you. Like you're always a little bit tense and a little bit on edge, and you might not even know it because it's become your normal. I'm aware of it in myself now in the moment, because moving, it isn't something, I know it's not going to last forever. It is very stressful, but I know that once it's done, like the pendulum, my nervous pendulum, will kind of move back from that sympathetic response towards that, away from the fight, flight and freeze reflex, back towards being able to tend and mend and befriend. And that's going to start with tending to myself and mending what I have going on in here, in this actual body. And tending to the body is much more effective and efficient and just generally compassionate way of responding to anxiety. So there are only specific parts of our neurology that are designed for logic and problem solving and language and cognition, which we kind of associate with behavioural things and all of that external stuff, and that's like, and that is only helpful to a certain degree when it comes to managing. It's helpful when it comes to managing anxiety and managing the symptoms of anxiety and managing the outward expression of anxiety, is to deal with behaviours, which is why, in my humble opinion, things like CBT just are pretty ineffective when it comes to long-term relief and release and transformation of anxiety. Whereas these survival responses, these anxious responses, this kind of desire for the body to communicate, it happens at a silent level. It happens within the body. I know a lot of people say it's in your head. Like I think we experience a lot of what goes on in our being, in our head, because we've got eyes and ears and all of our senses are here, and to a certain extent what is being processed is being processed between your ears, but it's also, everything from the neck down is also doing processing as well. And so your body has this silent way of communicating with you through felt senses, so through like little niggles, or even through things that feel pleasant. Your body is always moving you back towards as you can tell, I've only had 4 hours sleep and Mercury's in retrograde. Your body's always moving you back towards well-being and towards ease and efficiency, and just soothing itself into some kind of homeostasis so that it's able to function. And that, you can really help that with touch, with movement, and with creative practices. So the greater part of our body-mind speaks in those terms. It speaks in physical sensation, in emotion, and in images, which we then turn into symbols, which we then turn into language. But at the deepest level, like, imagination is an incredibly powerful tool, and it's taken me a number of years of practice to really appreciate just how powerful imagination and creative practice is. I'm a very intellectual person. I like to understand things intellectually. I like to grapple with them on a very logical level. So for me to come away from that logical daylight thinking, daylight consciousness into like the silent places of emotion and sensation and image. It's been a journey. It is still a journey. I wanted to share with you an experience that I had today. So like one of my symptoms of my anxiety is I have insomnia. I don't have it chronically anymore, which is a relief, but sometimes, and it's usually hormonal. I have hormonal insomnia. There's like at least 2 or 3 nights of the month where I'm guaranteed not to sleep. And because I'm prepared for it now, I've learned to be a lot kinder towards myself when it happens. So last night when I wasn't sleeping, I just got up, made myself a hot chocolate, sat in my bed, read, and was able to rest and not move more into the stress of I'm not sleeping, tomorrow's going to be a write-off, and becoming involved in a story that then aggravates and exacerbates and heightens the stress. Anxiety and stress are like they're sisters really, but they're not the same thing. And it's easier, I think, once you learn a certain degree of acceptance and kindness towards yourself, then to be able to take a step back and feel into what's happening and what your right response or what choices you have in responding to the experience of insomnia, panic attack, any of those things. Brain not working. But yeah, so like for me last night, the compassionate response was just to sit and read and enjoy a hot drink, and it soothed me. And then when I did go to sleep, my body is mulling all of these things over, all of these big stories that I've got going on in my waking life. It's trying to make sense of those, or help me make sense of those from a place of embodiment in a somatic way. And I had a dream as I was waking up this morning. It was about 6:45 this morning. I had a dream that I was by the River Wye in Hay, which is where I'm from, and I was with my son and I was with my niece, and they were a little bit older than they are now. So my niece was walking, and the river was very high. There'd been a flood, and Elijah, my son, climbed up on a bench, and he was climbing up with my niece. And I said to them, I was like, you need to come away from there because the banks are eroded. I was just like, it's just dangerous, come away. And I went and I got them, and I had them for a moment, and everything felt okay. And then from behind me, without me seeing, like this great big wave came. And I know that there are no waves in a river. It's tidal, I don't know, unless a dam burst or something. There we go, maybe that's what happened. See, logically trying to make sense of the dream. But it came along, and I had hold of Elijah, but I let go of my niece, and she was just swept away by the current. And I physiologically, I woke in that same sense of readiness, and what do I do? Do I take Elijah to safety? Do I just and I had just she'd just gone and she'd vanished, and I was just my 1-year-old niece is now dead and drowned. And then I experienced this whole devastation, physically wanted to cry, and I knew it wasn't real, but on a physical level, the response of my body to the dream was exactly as it would be, or a condensed version of how I would feel in that real life situation. And I woke and I told myself, this is a dream, this hasn't happened, this is your body and your unconscious trying to make sense of your big feels and your circumstance that you have going on right now. And I got up and I made myself a cup of tea, and then I came back to bed, and I lay down on my bed, and I went back into this, just got myself very relaxed and went back into this dream state where I was there. And it was just at that moment where I had hold of Elijah and the wave came and took my niece. And in that moment, I imagined an eagle coming from behind me and just lifting her out of the water, and she was fine. And all of the tension and the panic and the grief just dissolved and disappeared. Like, I had to go through the, like, there's a wave coming and this is going to happen, and surrender to that, but then using my imagination to come in and pick her up and rescue her. And it just instantly made me feel so much better. Just the relief was wonderful, and that then I feel reset me then for to get up and to do the rest of my day, because I didn't want to get up out of bed physiologically wired for fight or flight or freeze. Like, it's not a pleasant way. You know, I can feel the gripping around my chest when I talk about it, and you don't want to move into your day that way. So just being able to recapitulate that and to create a different ending for myself, and to create moving my hands now, just that, rather than the tensing and the constricting that I felt in the moment, to be able to find that expansion and that softening. There we go, that's what this is about, that's what this is telling me. So my body knows how to help me tell a story. Yeah, that was what it was. It was finding a softening and an expansion, and being able to move and to start my day from that place. It's a completely different experience. I'm now going to go and do some movement, but I wanted to share that with you, just as a little offering, in hope that, you know, the next time you either, you know, have a dream or something in your body is, you know, a bit off, that you too can, like, just feel into what it could be to access that emotion, that state of awareness using your imagination. And you could do this as a visualization, as I did in bed, or you could do this through any creative practice, art making. And when I say art making, I really like, it doesn't have to be a beautiful representation of your experience. It can just be colours and shapes and symbols, and just something that has meaning for you, meaning from your body, that it comes from your body, and you create an actual expression of it in whatever medium you like. So yeah, I'm going to go and move, and then I'm going to write, because I find writing a really great way of unpacking the meaning and the richness in that experience. So I'm going to leave it here. Have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Bye.